Imagine for a second a world where the biggest headache of owning an electric vehicle simply vanishes into thin air. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Picture yourself on a long-distance road trip, the landscape blurring past your window, and just as your battery indicator starts to dip into the red, you pull into a charging station. But instead of the usual soul-crushing 45-minute wait or the desperate search for a functional fast charger that actually delivers on its promise, you are in and out in just 10 minutes. In the time it takes to grab a quick espresso and stretch your legs, your car has inhaled enough energy to propel you for hundreds, even thousands of kilometers. It sounds like a fever dream from a sci-fi novel, a distant utopia that engineers have been chasing for decades. But today, that dream has suddenly crashed into reality. The reason for this tectonic shift in the automotive landscape is none other than the Japanese industrial titan, Toyota. After years of being labeled a skeptic and a laggard in the electric revolution, Toyota has broken its silence with a claim that has sent shockwaves through the entire global EV industry. They aren't just talking about a new car. They are talking about a total architectural overhaul of how energy is stored. The solid-state battery. This is not a minor iteration or a software patch. It is a fundamental breakthrough that promises to be safer, significantly more powerful, and drastically faster to charge than anything currently sitting on a Tesla or BYD showroom floor. Now, the million-dollar question echoing through boardrooms from Palo Alto to Shenzhen is whether this is truly the ultimate game-changer that will crown Toyota as the king of the new era. Or is it just another corporate mirage? A grand promise designed to grab headlines without ever touching the asphalt. More importantly, if this technology actually delivers on its gargantuan claims, what does it mean for the current titans like Elon Musk's Tesla? Or the Chinese juggernaut BYD? Are we witnessing the beginning of a total market eclipse? Or is there a hidden, gritty truth about the manufacturing of these batteries that hasn't been fully exposed yet? What is the secret sauce in Toyota's laboratory? And why is the world suddenly holding its breath? In this breakdown, we are going to peel back the layers of this high-stakes technological war in a way that will keep you glued to the screen until the very last second. To truly grasp the magnitude of Toyota's latest move, you first have to understand the sheer, unadulterated scale of the company we are dealing with. If you view Toyota as just another car manufacturer, you are missing the forest for the trees. This is a global empire, a manufacturing machine that sells over 10 million vehicles every single year, maintaining a grip on the title of the world's largest automaker for much of the last decade. Their footprint is so massive that it is practically inescapable. Whether you are navigating the neon-lit streets of Tokyo, the sprawling highways of Texas, the rugged terrain of the Middle East, or the historic avenues of Europe, you will see that silver logo everywhere. That ubiquity is their greatest weapon. A combination of massive industrial scale and a level of consumer trust that takes generations to build. However, when the conversation shifts to pure electric vehicles, EVs, the narrative takes a sharp, almost confusing turn. For the past decade, while the media was obsessed with the meteoric rise of Tesla and the aggressive expansion of Chinese brands like BYD, Toyota seemed to be standing on the sidelines, almost stubbornly refusing to join the all-electric gold rush. Instead of pouring every cent into battery electric cars, Toyota doubled down on hybrids. The Prius, which once revolutionized the industry, was seen by many EV purists as a relic of a transitional phase, a half measure that Toyota was clinging to while the rest of the world moved on. If you look strictly at the sales charts for pure battery EVs, Toyota's numbers look like a rounding error compared to the millions of units moved by their rivals. On the surface, it looked like a giant was sleeping while the world changed around it. But here is where the story gets interesting, and it's a twist that many casual observers completely missed. Toyota wasn't sleeping. They were calculating. While other companies were rushing to market with lithium-ion batteries, technologies that are inherently limited by their chemical nature, Toyota was playing a much longer, much riskier game. They spent years perfecting the hybrid drivetrain, building a massive internal database on how electric motors and batteries behave in the real world over hundreds of thousands of miles. They weren't just selling cars. They were quietly mastering the complexities of electrified mobility while waiting for the right moment to strike. This slow and steady approach led many to believe Toyota had lost its edge, but in reality, They were preparing to leapfrog the entire current generation of technology. Now that Toyota has officially signaled that it is taking pure EVs seriously, the tone of the conversation has shifted from mockery to genuine concern among its competitors. When a company with Toyota's manufacturing DNA says they have found a better way, you don't ignore it. They aren't just trying to build a better car. They are trying to fix the fundamental flaws of the electric vehicle itself: long charging times and range anxiety. The investment is staggering. Billions of dollars channeled into new solid-state research, massive battery gigafactories in the making, and a complete reimagining of their global supply chain. They are entering the ring not just to participate, but to dominate by making EVs practical for the average person who doesn't have an hour to kill at a charging station. Toyota's real strength isn't just the invention, it's the ability to produce that invention by the millions with surgical precision. If they can successfully scale this solid-state technology, the current leaders like Tesla and BYD might find their technological advantage evaporating overnight. The race is no longer about who got there first. It's about who has the technology that actually makes sense for the global mass market. And as we dig deeper into the actual science of this miracle battery, you'll start to see why the traditional lithium-ion kings are starting to sweat. To understand why Toyota's announcement feels like a thunderclap in a quiet room, we first have to strip away the marketing gloss of current electric vehicles and look at the gritty, frustrating reality of owning one today. From the outside, the EV revolution looks flawless, sleek, silent, eco-friendly, and cheap to run. But the moment a person considers switching from a traditional internal combustion engine to an EV, the pain points begin to surface like jagged rocks at low tide. These are the exact reasons why millions of potential buyers are still sitting on the fence, clutching their petrol car keys. The first and most glaring issue is the agonizingly slow pace of charging. In a world where we can refuel a diesel or petrol car in less than 5 minutes and be back on the highway, the prospect of sitting at a charging station for 45 minutes or an hour feels like a massive step backward in human convenience. Even with the fastest chargers currently available, you are still at the mercy of chemical limitations. For many, this isn't just an inconvenience. It's a deal breaker. It forces a change in daily routine, planning trips around charger locations, charging overnight, and the constant, nagging anxiety of, what if there's an emergency and the car isn't ready? This is where Toyota's promise of a 10-minute charge strikes a nerve. It doesn't just improve the experience. It restores the freedom of the road that we've enjoyed for a century. The second massive hurdle is what the industry calls range anxiety. But for the average driver, it's simply the fear of being stranded in the middle of nowhere. In a petrol car, this fear is non-existent because a fuel station is never more than a few kilometers away. But in the current EV landscape, especially outside of major metropolitan hubs, charging infrastructure is still patchy, unreliable, and often occupied. If you're planning a long-distance trip, you aren't just driving. You're performing a complex logistical dance. You have to calculate the weather, the terrain, the load in the car, and the hope that the charger at your destination actually works. This uncertainty is the primary reason why many people view EVs as second cars. Fine for the city, but risky for the open road. Then there is the silent killer of battery value: degradation. Much like the smartphone in your pocket, current lithium-ion batteries start to lose their stamina the moment they leave the factory. After a few years of fast charging and extreme weather, that 500-kilometer range might drop to 400, then 350. Since the battery is the most expensive component of the car, often costing as much as a small engine, the thought of it weakening over time creates a massive financial cloud over the buyer's head. People worry about the resale value and the terrifying cost of a replacement 5 or 6 years down the line. This is the lithium-ion ceiling, a limit imposed by the very liquid chemistry that powers our modern world. This is exactly where Toyota's solid-state technology claims to shatter the ceiling. To understand the how, we have to look inside the battery itself. In the lithium-ion batteries used by Tesla, BYD, and everyone else, there is a liquid electrolyte, a chemical soup that allows ions to move between the anode and the cathode. While effective, this liquid is the source of almost every problem. It's heavy, it's flammable, and it's slow. When you try to shove energy into a liquid battery too fast, it generates immense heat, which can lead to fires or permanent damage. Toyota's breakthrough replaces that liquid with a solid ceramic or polymer material. This might seem like a small tweak, but in the world of high-performance physics, it's like replacing a narrow, muddy backroad with a multi-lane superhighway. In a solid-state battery, ions can move with incredible speed and efficiency because they aren't fighting through a liquid medium. This is the secret behind the 10-minute charge. It's not just about pushing more power. It's about the battery's ability to inhale that power without overheating or breaking down. Because there is no flammable liquid, the risk of fire, a major PR nightmare for the EV industry, is virtually eliminated. Safety becomes a built-in feature, not an afterthought managed by complex cooling systems. But the benefits don't stop at safety and speed. The real holy grail is energy density. Because solid materials occupy less space and are more stable than liquids, you can pack significantly more energy into a battery of the same size and weight. This is how Toyota expects to achieve a range of 1,000 kilometers or more on a single charge. Imagine a future where you can drive from one side of a country to the other without stopping to charge once. And even if you do stop, you're back on the road in the time it takes to buy a sandwich. This is the range explosion that could finally make EVs a total, no-compromise replacement for petrol cars. Furthermore, solid-state batteries are expected to be much more durable. The degradation that plagues our current phones and cars would be drastically reduced, meaning the car you buy today will still have nearly the same range a decade later. This stabilizes the resale market and makes EVs a much more attractive long-term investment for the average family. However, we must remain grounded. While the science is sound and the prototypes are breathtaking, the road from a laboratory breakthrough to a mass-produced car is paved with monumental challenges. Toyota isn't just fighting physics. They are fighting the economics of scale. Creating a handful of these batteries is one thing. Creating 10 million of them per year at a price point that doesn't alienate the middle class is a challenge that has defeated many companies before. As we move into the next phase of this conflict, the battle between the evolution of Tesla and the revolution of Toyota will determine who owns the future of transportation. The stage is now set for what could be the greatest industrial showdown of the 21st century. In one corner, we have Tesla, the disruptor that dragged the world kicking and screaming into the electric age. In the other corner, we have Toyota, the traditional king of manufacturing that was once thought to be a dinosaur, but is now revealing its teeth. This isn't just a competition between two car companies. It is a fundamental clash of philosophies. Tesla's entire empire is built on the perfection of the lithium-ion battery. Elon Musk's strategy has always been about evolution. By building massive gigafactories and optimizing every millimeter of the current battery chemistry, Tesla has made EVs faster, cheaper, and more accessible than anyone thought possible. Their strength lies in their ecosystem. The supercharger network, the seamless software integration, and the sheer data they've collected from millions of cars already on the road. Tesla's gamble is that lithium-ion, combined with massive scale, is good enough to win the world. Toyota, however, is betting on a revolution. They aren't trying to make the current battery slightly better. They are trying to make it obsolete. While Tesla was capturing the early adopters and the tech-savvy crowd, Toyota was quietly pouring billions into the holy grail solid-state technology. This creates a fascinating conflict angle. If Tesla is the iPhone of cars, constantly updating and refining a winning formula, Toyota wants to be the technology that replaces the smartphone entirely. The risk for Toyota is immense. Solid-state batteries are notoriously difficult to manufacture at scale. The materials are sensitive, the precision required is astronomical, and the costs are currently through the roof. If Toyota fails to bring these costs down, they might end up with a miracle car that only the ultra-wealthy can afford, leaving the mass market to Tesla and the aggressive Chinese manufacturers like BYD. Speaking of BYD, the shockwaves of Toyota's announcement are hitting China just as hard as they are hitting California. BYD has become a global juggernaut by mastering the art of the affordable EV. Their LFP, lithium iron phosphate batteries are durable and cheap, allowing them to flood the market with high-quality, low-cost vehicles. But if Toyota successfully launches a solid-state battery that offers 1,000 kilometers of range and 10-minute charging, the price advantage of companies like BYD might suddenly feel like a compromise. Today, people buy BYD because it's the smart, economical choice. But tomorrow, if a Toyota offers double the performance and 5 times the charging speed for a competitive price, the market balance will shift overnight. This puts immense pressure on every traditional automaker, from Hyundai to Volkswagen. They can no longer afford to just catch up to Tesla. They now have to worry about a Toyota that is potentially 2 generations ahead of everyone else. This technological arms race is also destined to hit the oil industry where it hurts the most. For decades, the petrol car held one final, untouchable advantage over the electric car: the 5-minute refuel. It was the ultimate safety net. But if the 10-minute electric charge becomes the new standard, that safety net vanishes. We are looking at a future where the transition away from fossil fuels isn't just an environmental choice. It becomes the only logical choice for convenience. As battery costs begin to stabilize and solid-state production matures, the initial cost barrier that stops most people today will begin to crumble. We are standing at the edge of a new phase of human mobility where the car is no longer a luxury item with limitations, but a high-tech tool that is as easy to use as a toaster. The question is no longer if the industry will change, but who will be left standing when the dust settles from Toyota's solid-state explosion. Now we must step away from the laboratory dreams and the exciting headlines to face the most brutal part of this story: the manufacturing reality check. Because in the world of global industry, a brilliant idea is only as good as the factory's ability to build it 10 million times without a single mistake. This is exactly where the greatest technological miracles often go to die. Toyota is facing a monumental task that would terrify most engineers. Solid-state batteries are famously temperamental. Unlike the liquid lithium-ion batteries that the industry has spent 30 years perfecting, solid-state cells are incredibly sensitive to moisture, pressure, and microscopic imperfections. Even a tiny dust particle or a microscopic crack in the solid electrolyte during the assembly process can cause the entire battery to fail or lose its performance. To put it simply, building a prototype in a clean, quiet lab is like painting a masterpiece. Building millions of them on a high-speed assembly line is like trying to paint that same masterpiece while riding a roller coaster. This is the valley of death for new tech, and Toyota knows it better than anyone. The second massive hurdle is the cold, hard reality of cost. Currently, the rare materials and the specialized vacuum environments required to manufacture solid-state batteries make them exponentially more expensive than today's batteries. If a solid-state Toyota costs twice as much as a Tesla or a BYD, the mass market will simply stay away. Toyota's goal isn't just to make a better battery. It's to make a battery that the average person can actually afford. This requires a complete reimagining of the global supply chain. They need new sources for raw materials, new machines that haven't even been invented yet, and a workforce that is trained in a completely new branch of electrochemistry. This process is not something that happens overnight with the flip of a switch. It is a slow, grinding journey of optimization. In the early stages, we will likely only see these batteries in high-end, premium Lexus models or flagship Toyota SUVs, where the customer is willing to pay a premium for that 10-minute charging convenience. Then there is the question on everyone's mind. When can I actually walk into a dealership and drive this future home? Toyota has been carefully managing expectations, pointing toward a timeline between 2027 and 2030 for the first major commercial rollout. While some might find this wait frustrating, it's important to remember that Toyota has a history of being cautious. They would rather delay a launch by 2 years than release a car that doesn't live up to their legendary reputation for reliability. This slow and steady culture is their greatest strength. But in the fast-paced world of EVs, it is also their biggest risk. While Toyota perfects its solid-state chemistry, Tesla is already building millions of cars and improving its software every day. BYD is capturing the developing world with affordable electric transport. The window of opportunity is narrow, and Toyota must hit its mark perfectly on the first try. But let's look at the bigger picture. Even if there are delays, the direction of the world has been permanently altered. Toyota's bold claim has forced every other company to accelerate their own research. We are entering an era where range anxiety will eventually become a ghost story we tell the next generation. We are moving toward a world where the car is no longer a source of pollution or a slave to the gas pump, but a high-performance, ultra-fast charging piece of technology that fits seamlessly into our busy lives. If Toyota succeeds, they won't just save their own company. They will save the entire concept of the private automobile for the 21st century. They are fighting for a future where clean energy doesn't mean a sacrifice in convenience. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the world is watching every single move. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and never miss an update on the massive technological shifts happening in the EV world and beyond, you know what to do. This is a journey we are all taking together. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Give this video a like if you found it insightful, and most importantly, ring that bell icon so you are the first to know when the next big breakthrough drops. The future is charging faster than you think, and we will be here to break it all down for you every step of the way. See you in the next one.